How's it going, guys and gals? Merry Christmas and upcoming Happy New Year to all of you guys and gals out there. Already had some interesting games over the holiday here. My work, I shut down roughly around December 20th. 21st, that was the last day of fall. So I've had several days to get some hobby time in, get some games in. I've had my son and my nephew do a mid-war desert battle between the two of them. At the tail end of this studio update, I'm going to just put in an excerpt from that game. I'm still messing with my new software, my Adobe Premiere. I did use two cameras, but I pretty much just filmed a good part of that game with the two different cameras to try to play with the editing. So I still do not have that down yet. So I apologize. It's just going to be a short excerpt. Everyone wanted a battle report to go up, sometime this early in the week. So my apologies. It's just a small excerpt. It's really, I'm throwing this on this edition, as it were, for mostly new players, because I want them to see, and I want you to see how it is with these two guys. They've never played version 4 before. Okay, that's the starting point here. Two players, roughly college age. My son is a junior in college. My nephew is a sergeant in the United States Army in the recon, in a recon platoon, basically. And they've not ever played version 4, and I can tell you we ran into some problems with the rules. Now, I have been playing some test battles, pretty much basic. I really haven't been playing a lot of aircraft. I really haven't been playing a lot of different units and things. And now that I'm building up my forces, we're playing with some different units, and we started running into some problems with the rules. Now, I am a member of the Facebook page for Flames of War, and for you guys, thanks for all your great input. I had some good guys come in and put in some good input on these questions, but I also had guys, and this is similar to being on the forums, as many of you may know, that you get these guys come in and they accuse you of trying to start trouble because, God forbid, anyone say anything negative about the rules, that the rules were not clear. And I'm sorry, I totally disagree with the 2 points that really stuck the game up. The first point was the worst. It literally took us an hour. We couldn't find the answer to this problem in the rule book anywhere. I knew how the old rules were for this, but I was pretty sure that since they had changed the aircraft, and this is what we're getting to, the British force, played by my son, was being using 2 Hurricanes. We paid for 2 Hurricanes in that list. Hurricanes at mid-war, this Hurricane is equipped only with a 40mm gun cannon. Now, anyone that knows about armament knows that is a pretty heavy-duty gun cannon. It's going to be similar to the, and I forget the name of the aircraft exactly, but it is a German, basically anti-tank aircraft, like the World War II version of an A-10. So we went on and on and on. Of course, my nephew, who played the Germans, when my son was taking his aircraft attack at a Tiger tank, which we now know, if you're a new guy at this game and you're taking Hurricanes on your British list, don't even waste your time attacking a Tiger tank. You cannot take the Tiger tank out. Your anti-tank rating of the Vickers gun versus the armor of the Tiger tank is not adequate enough to penetrate that tank and to do damage. Now, I do appreciate there was one individual on the Facebook group that pointed out we had found something on the internet about some appendices for changes to anti-tank values and things already. They're coming out with things that have been come out that aren't sorted out in the rules, and rightly so. We thought that they had lowered the Vickers gun down to an anti-tank of 5, but that's not true. That's for late war. La 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 la. So around the world, it added some more confusion. So the anti-tank rating of this Vickers gun on the Hurricane aircraft is a 7. Now, here was the sticking point, because my son felt that he's coming from above, he's swooping down onto the Tiger, he should be able to shoot the top of the Tiger tank and get the top armor rating. If that were the case, he obviously can take that Tiger tank out. Now, everyone argues, no, you can. You're still going to come at an angle. You can't come straight down. Isn't at an angle. You're still shooting at the top of the tank. If you can see the top of the tank. And people say, oh no, the shots glance off. There's no statistics from World War II that show that a Hurricane in mid-war ever took out a Tiger tank. And that's why. The bottom line is this. Let's boil it down so that you new guys stumbling onto this video who are using aircraft in mid-war, when you attack a tank, let's say, obviously it's different for infantry and gun teams. They're going to be relatively easy to strafe. And I would suggest those should be your main targets. Gun teams, anti-tank, anti-air teams, infantry teams, unarmored or lightly armored personnel carriers. Or going after tanks that are relatively lightly armored, light tanks. Should be your targets, okay? Because, and it's not stated anywhere in the mid-war rules. This book, nowhere is it stated in there, not one place. When you attack a tank, if you place your aircraft model in front of the tank, you are now going to use the front armor. If you place your aircraft model to the side of the tank, behind the forward plane line that runs across the nose of the tank, you are now attacking the side armor. Here's my quip. Why don't we just use side armor? Because who is going to attack the front of a tank? Anyone that knows anything, and if you're just starting this game, the front armor is harder to penetrate than side armor. You're always going to take the side and rear armor, because that's the lowest besides the top. And apparently we're not allowed to use top ratings from aircraft unless you're using bombs or rockets. Okay, then you can use it. And I'm thinking, wouldn't those glance off? No, they're designed to penetrate, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then you get into this huge argument between one player who wants to preserve his tank, the other player wants to take out the tank. And that's where the conflict comes into some of these games, and this is a perfect example of that, where literally the game comes to a halt. We wanted to try to get in 2 games where I was going to play the victor, and this and the other issue basically bogged the whole game down. So that was a big point of frustration for us. We thought, well, the rules aren't clear. My frustration is, here we are, version 4, and we're still throwing rules out to the public that have flaws in them. Big problem. Okay, so initially I gave version 4 rules like a 9 out of 10, and I would say after this experience this late weekend, I'm going to bump that down to like an 8 out of 10 for the cleanliness of the rules and the rule system. There are areas in the rules with other issues I'm not going to go into that aren't completely clear, and again, we're talking about 2 new players. All I was doing was working the cameras, the 2 cameras. So they're coming across these problems as new players, and they're finding it difficult to answer the question relatively quickly from the rule book. To me, that is a problem. You're wanting to attract new players to this game. The rules need to be play tested by new players, and I feel one of the problems that these gaming companies are having is they are taking experienced players who've played the previous versions, and they're coming in and they're play testing these rules. And it's going to be different from them, especially tournament players and guys that play the game a lot. I am not a tournament player. I play sporadically when I can. So I tend to be in a mode of refreshing myself with the rules. So you take two new guys who've never played version 4 and they were struggling with the rules. Period. Okay, well, they're not smart. No, they're smart. My son is going to be working on a PhD in economics, okay? He's not stupid. My cousin, or my nephew is not stupid, okay? These are just your above average, I would say above average intelligence level, aren't finding the rules very clear in several spots. And then when I come in and I try to intercede, I'm thinking, yeah, this isn't very clear. Oh, this is kind of confusing the way this is written, okay? And I'm just going to leave it there. So if you're a new guy stumbling onto this, playing Flames of War, and you're using aircraft, make sure you're putting that model at when it's time for you to fire onto a team. That if it's a tank team, you want to put it next to the side, or you want to use side armor as the armor rating to use on an aircraft attack. Okay, so we're going to let that lie. The other issue was with 17-pounder gun team. If you look at the card on the 17-pounder gun team, which is an anti-tank weapon for the British, it has a moving rate of fire, but it does not have a tactical move. There's a dash there. There's no tactical move for that. There's only a dash, right? So if the bottom line is, if you look at the rules, if that gun team or even an artillery gun team moves during the game, let's say the 2 inches at the dash speed, you cannot fire. Yet on the moving rate of fire of that gun, it says 1. Okay, wouldn't you think if you move the 2 inches at dash? Now let's keep in mind it says if you move dash, you can't fire. So why is there a moving rate of fire of 1? It's a contradiction. Now someone on the Facebook group comes in and says, that's in case the unit gets pinned, right? That's in case the unit gets pinned. If the unit got pinned, if it was hit but did not get destroyed because it made its saving throw, it's pinned, right? As in any unit, you're pinned, which means you can't fire until you move or fire till you come unpinned. So why is there a moving rate of fire? That still didn't make any sense. That is not the answer for this problem. The answer is there should be a 0 where it says moving rate of fire for any gun team. It should say 0. Instead, the card has a 1. So if you're a new player, that is going to be a big problem, because you're going to think, well, I don't have a tactical move, I have a dash move, but I could still fire when it's a rate of fire 1. You said this doesn't make any sense. So then you start digging in the rules. Nowhere does it say anything about that. Okay? It just says, obviously, if you use dash, if you move at a dash speed, which in this case is 2 inches for this gun team, you cannot fire under the movement rules. But there's a moving rate of fire of 1. So what do we come out to? Obviously, one guy on the other side of the table says, no, you can't shoot when you move, after you move a gun team. The other guy says, here, but it says I can shoot. It says after I move, I can shoot 1, right? And this is the stuff that can drive you crazy sometimes with rule sets. So, I guess to keep the game moving in this case, and to keep the game moving, we should say what makes sense. Okay, if you move a gun team, they've got to pick up the cannon, they've got to push it forward. The start of our game, you had the 12-inch deployment zone, and obviously you wanted to move those guns up, all right, to try to get some better shots. Anytime you move that gun team, you're not going to be able to fire, period. So the next round, you're not going to be shooting. To get that gun into position, you want to take 2 or 3 turns to move that gun position. Each time you move, you're not going to be able to fire. That seems to make sense to me. It's not a big... if you know anything about artillery or gun pieces, that they've got to, secure the guns for the recoil and this and that, and that's going to take time. Just like if you're moving a cannon, you've got to set up, you've got to load, and it's going to absorb enough time. So, it comes down to, what is it? House rule on the case by case basis. The tank, the Hurricane attacking the tank was a little tougher, because you do think, he is coming in from above. You should be able to shoot at the top. Do you adjust since the top is at an angle, you're not coming straight down onto the thing. You know, you just have to sort that out. That's what we call a house rule on the spot. What makes sense to keep the game moving, to minimize the argument, and to get things moving. So I'm just going to put in this little excerpt from this match between my son and my nephew, so you can kind of see the things that were kind of going on. This segment is pretty much still in the first 1/3 of the match. By the end of the match, the Germans did concede. They did give up. The British list, I'm telling you, is no joke. I mean, they're like Soviets a little bit in that they get a lot more stuff. The Germans get a lot less stuff on the board. And the Germans have to be a lot more crafty with their moves, especially when you have British 17-pounders lurking in the desert, you know. And I'm pretty sure they have a 32-inch range, and they've got an anti-tank of 9, and they're gonna rip up your friggin' Panzers. So yeah, so there's that. So I just wanted to pop on here. I wanted to throw something up for everybody. It is an excerpt of this battle. We did have a couple hang-ups with the rules. I ended up taking my posts off Facebook because I kind of got tired of the dumbass comments, honestly. I was being told that I was trying to pick a fight and this and that. So my opinion, or my advice to you guys, if you get on these forums and stuff, anytime you criticize the game, you're gonna get attacked. Okay, you're gonna have people that are typically trolling the forums and the pages, who are diehard fanatics. They love the game, which is fine. I love the game too, guys, but these are flaws in the rules. And again, I'm approaching this from, what is a new player going to do? They're going to say, this is stupid, the rules aren't any good, and they just may say, I'm not playing this game. They may be at a friend's house and say, these rules don't make sense. So, and we already know there's a lot of controversy between V4 and V3. Okay, there's already a rift that has developed. You've got the pro V4 camp, you have the anti V4 camp. Okay, my advice is, if you don't like the new rules, you really can't get over some of the more major changes with hit allocation and on. There's just a ton of different issues out there if you scour the internet. Then just your group can play version 3. You're just not going to be able to go to tournaments because they're going to play version 4. Okay, so I would say, I've got way too much money invested in this game. If worst case scenario, I was come down to house rules, we're gonna do what makes sense. Even if I believe that a tank should be able to use top armor, if we're coming down from the sky, are we gonna adjust the roll by a +1 to account for the round ricocheting off? So definitely, if you're also looking into aircraft, kind of stick with aircraft. Stukas, things that are using bombs, that are using rockets, they're going to be a lot more effective against tank teams, especially. And if you're just using a strafe, you're using a heavy cannon that shoots big bullets, right? So there you go. So again, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and here is an excerpt from the battle.
I think those honeys are pretty weak. Let's see. Honey front armor 3. Okay, so we'll fuck those up pretty nice.
Crusaders front.
Are those 2s or 3s? The Crusaders.
For what?
No, I'm asking your dad. You're not gonna know.
2s or 3s? You know what?
Well, I'm about to look.
Well, you're gonna say 3s because they're better. If they cost.
But for what? 2 or 3 for what?
It's the model of them.
Oh.
Crusader 2 or 3.
I thought you meant like for their motivation. Or...
No.
That's what I thought you were meaning, because I was looking at the car. This is 2 and 3. The card says 2 and 3.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. But he has the list of which ones they are.
There are 3.
I mean, it's not a big difference.
There's
Just the
3s.
front armor's either 3 or 4.
Nah, they're 3s.
Shut up.
They're 3s, dude. I don't know what else to tell you, dude.
I'll tell you what. You get hit by my Tiger or those 88 guns, your tank's dead.
Yeah, if you can hit me.
That's what I said.
Okay, so the dark ones are the 2s, the light ones are the 3s, because you have to have mixed. And on the new list, on this list for this, you could only have, you can't have straight platoons. You had to have a mixed platoon because that's how it really was. Because the 3s were newer and they didn't have that many of them. Now, so the dark ones are the 2s, because there's 2 Crusader 2s and there's 3 Crusader 3s.
Honey.
You got 2 Crusaders that are considered the HQ,
Ooh.
which would be these. They're all 2s. I was wrong. I'm reading my handwriting.
So
here. I
why
thought
in
it
the
said
hell would
3s.
those be the headquarters? So I literally can't use them.
Yeah, you can.
But if
It's
they get killed, my whole entire
It's
army
the
is gone.
It's the Crusader HQ,
Oh, you mean it's the Crusader?
like the
Leader.
header of the platoon, right?
Well, who's his company HQ?
Right here.
If that's the case, I'm about to just tactical dash all the way up
Company
there.
HQs on this game are based at the base of the being taken.
Yeah, you fucking bitch.
So his company HQ
You're
is in
right
the
here,
church.
buddy.
Your company HQ is in the command building. As long as he gets to that,
Ooh.
as long as he gets to that villa
Yeah,
and
it's in the
keeps
first
it for
wave
one
action
turn,
going on.
he wins the game.
You said it was in a building. It's not in a building.
That's basically the story. We're still under the first Brit movement phase, and then he's going to do a shooting phase if he has any shots to fire. I made this list like 3 months ago, so.
Whoa, whoa.
What do you think?
What do you think
this is?
I'm just making sure there's no cheese. No cheese, no cheese. Those Crusaders are the fastest tanks. They have a 14-inch movement.
Yeah, dude.
They move.
And
They're like,
you can move farther and just give up your shot.
what's that do a nice cross-country dash, get a 20-inch movement in. Boy.
Boy bet.
Boy.
So they all have to stay within 6 inches of
The
each other.
Germans have
No, no, no.
110 points. The Brits
How's that
have
work?
111.
You have to stay within 6 inches of the head honcho, headshot honcho,
Oh,
this
that
guy.
dude or that
Yeah.
dude?
Well, so technically, these 3 are platoon.
That's
These 3 are
what I'm
platoon.
saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying.
Got it.
Make sure I'm not pulling any cheese.
Am I pulling any
Cheese. Cheese.
Cheese.
Just be prepared. Those things are about to get bombarded because I can't hurt them. The front of them is a 5. My anti-tank's a 7. So.
Because you a little bit. You a little bit.
Hell, even the
You
fucking
a little bit.
No.
No.
I can't do that. Because what's the top of a Grant? It's probably 1. So you just need to roll a 1 to tie.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, how do you feel?
I have a hard time believing this.
He's like, that's some bullshit. Fall in line, boys.
Whoa, what's the movement on that?
14! You know how much it is. This is less.
Did you measure that?
I'll have
Take it to the tape.
fuck you, bitch.
Take it to the tape.
Hoka, hoka, she and that.
Panzerfaust anti-tank. Hey.
Let me turn that on, bro.
No.
Do you know how much I'm spending?
You know what's crazy too about this game?
What's super crazy about this?
So let's say you could see my tank, and let's say I had him. Let's say you broke the frontal plane. You know. Let's say you broke that frontal plane, but you could not see the side of my tank whatsoever, and that's a side shot. That's I thought they figured that out.
How fast do these troop transports move?
Oh, I don't know.
Should I go say on the cheat sheet? Here, real quick for you.
Universal
have vehicle
pure
movement speed.
10.
Oh, my tank ace. Here's my tank ace.
So,
Ready? Roll my tank ace.
You're not rolling your tank ace. You don't have one.
Well, shut it. I'm a tiger.
You don't get a tank ace every time you get a tiger.
Yeah, you do. Oh, and
You didn't pay for it, bro. And your points.
no, it's there.
It's not there.
You get it.
They took that out of the game, dude.
No.
your vehicles can move 10 if they're not doing a terrain dash. A terrain dash, cross country dash.
I'm just gonna laugh.
You can do 18 inches if you want to do cross country dash, but you can't disembark your troops at the end of the move. If you want to do tactical, it's 10. It almost
Tactical.
doubles your freaking move.
36. Powder baby. Oh. There you go. You want to fix this tank? Boom. Shot. In front of the 17 pounder. What do I gotta do?
Well, it's over 16, so it's +1 plus their RA to hit. Is hit on what? No, that's not right. Oh, I forget this shit. They're veteran. They're confident veteran.
Damn, like confident.
Okay. Brit move.
What's the roll?
Well, they're veterans, so it should be a 4 to hit because it's over 16, so it's 5.
You're shooting with you're shooting a direct shot from your anti-tank. So, what's your skill? My skill?
Well, I thought it was just your opponent's
My skill's veteran.
It's veteran on veteran.
Target team is hit on 4 in this case. The range is over 16 inches, which it is. That's +1, so you need a 5. And what's your rate of fire?
My skill's veteran, which is a 3.
But it's the target team.
Yeah, it's a target team. It's for the 4.
Okay,
It's all
now you got it'll be 5 unless. What's your rate of fire?
1. You're not moving.
Because you moved, so you gotta roll a 5. 6. Oh! And now your save is
Oh,
a
anti-tank's a 12, buddy.
Well, over 16 +1. My front is a 5. 5. So
6.
6 to bail out.
6.
Oh, that's a wrong dice.
What are you doing?
With my tiger ace,
That's
then
a
you
tiger ace.
I gotta roll it yet.
Does he have a tiger ace?
No.
You just moved that shit. You
No, I
saw your
didn't.
hand, dude.
I was trying to bump it out.
Reroll. I didn't see it.
Oh!
I told you to roll it. I said I pointed it at the very other edge. Not throwing it at the thing so it's going to be hidden from sight.
Oh! You're really not gonna give that to me?
Dude, that is some sketch, dude. I couldn't see it either time.
Roll your firepower.
What is my firepower? It doesn't show.
It's probably a 3+.
What's my firepower?
It says it at the bottom. Oh, bailed out.
Everything's bailed out. What are the shots?
This tank right here.
Which one?
That one.
With what? Did you move those?
Yeah,
How far? How much?
4 inches. I had it at the 12. He was right here. That's about 4 inches.
About?
Yeah, it is about 4 inches, buddy.
Can't see woods.
That's all about
Okay, we had
it.
a shot down here from this
I'm tracking.
tank 17 pounder, which are lethal, and we ended up with a bailed out Panzer IV. And now we're calling a shot with another 17 pounder downrange.
Done.
So you're out of range.
No,
It's an obstruction.
So to make it a +1 in the. You can't you just so that's basically a grove roof. Gotcha. Okay, so we couldn't get the shot off, and now it is German movement turn.
Alright. Protected ammo, so motivation on 3.
Huh?
Protect.